Hey, Ismail, I've been trying to comprehend, I've been thinking about these last few years, in particular the last half a decade of my life, and even longer than that. It's a frame of reference for me to consider my process and its eventual activation and what came after that, the psychic process that transcended the schizophrenic disorder. Even though a psychic process could be portrayed to be a very euphoric, magical thing, and it has been that in some ways, but especially back then, it was very much a disorder in of itself, despite the fact that I could recognize the blasphemous moments to be because of my psychic ability. It resonated very gravely back then. And the point is very simple actually with this video. It is this: if there is no more need for trauma to culminate into my mind, into some form of derangement or insanity, then why do I still proclaim I am giving up? Then why do I still let it happen? Schizophrenia is what started this whole thing. Back when I was 17 years old, I started growing very significant delusions with myself, delusions with the world around me, an obsessive drive and an obsessive reasoning after another. I did things that I would never do today, things that weren't healthy for me. There were grievances at some point in time past those happenings in particular, because nowadays, I'll give an example. Nowadays, I can create a song and I can be very proud of it, but I can forget all about it. When I was 16 years old, there was this one song that I created called Jamie. And what's sad is that this song, yes, it was perhaps a great song, but this song, it was a sampling take, and not only that, it was very simple. I did not intertwine it with any of my own melodies or anything of the sort. I flipped the sample, and somehow that was worthy of me talking about it non-stop for 3 years. I remember for 3 years, it's the only song of mine I even mentioned, when with a few friends in particular, was that song. It was this song called Jamie. And I don't listen to it anymore, but I must have listened to it 100 times, 200 times. And the point became that I hated the song. I hate listening to the song. The point became that I noticed this small detail in the song over the song itself. I remember I was talking to my friend about it. I said, there's this buzzing noise. There's this small buzzing noise. And that's why I listen to Jamie, because there's a small buzzing noise in the background of the sample. It wasn't very loud, but it was still there, and I said that's the reason I listened to it. And I don't see it as a pathetic statement or a sad statement. I just told the truth about it. But in retrospect, it strikes me as an extremely sad statement. So the point is that I was very obsessive. I was an extremely obsessed guy. And in a small way that stayed with me, in particular the maniacality of focusing on the past instead of the present or even the future. Eventually I did get over the song Jamie, and I did move on from it. I do not care about it anymore. And nowadays I create something a lot better, and then I tell someone, I'd say, I wish it was better than that. I wish I could have done better with the song. The traumatic disorder started after that. But so many moments in my life leading to that point in time make me think that they were correlative. It's almost like the world wanted me to die. It wanted me to die because I was shallow and I was stricken with delusions, and I did not prove myself to be worthy of the love and the happiness that I felt I could have received. I think nowadays that this is a series of actions and reactions that correlate to karma. And it's ironic to me because the weight brings me down, but there was a time after that where I did not let it overcome me. After I stopped being so obsessive and blunt with my obsession, there was a time where the weight did not overcome me. I was a very resilient and courageous man. And nowadays, it's as if the trauma hits so easily. It really makes me wonder what is going on in the first place. Because trauma builds off of a hurtful fact. And my mental situation in terms of my hallucinated experiences is more meager than ever before. In so many ways it is. Other than one exception, which is this time period of about 6 to 8 months where I did not have schizophrenia to myself, and I got off of the meds and I just lived without meds for a few months, and then the condition hit me with a vengeance, and that is really what starts the psychic process. This process, it has been overwhelming at times. It has truly worsened my mind. It has worsened my body. It has worsened my endurance. Yet when I am in a good mood, all I can think is, why am I not more grateful? Why am I not more grateful that I managed to live out this opportunity called life in the first place? Because even if everyone in the world thought I was a disgrace, it still wouldn't change that. At least they'd greet me with a smile, as at least they would treat me with kindness and decency regardless. Now, and hopefully for the rest of my life. But one thing that's really struck me more than anything else, if the trauma does not need to exist, then why do I not let go of it? There are very simple words with a very complicated situation as context sake. The context is my life and all of its turbulence and all of its potential disasters that I mitigated through my mental fortitude. Yet despite that mental fortitude, I became less diligent. I became less savory to my endurance. I became more lazy with my own personal self during the last maybe year, 2 years in particular. Although there were always outliers, and in some ways I've actually become better, but it's a bit hard to explain with some things, even though you think it wouldn't be so hard, because anything can be explained unless you need to hide something, right? Things can be explained if they exist. So why can't I explain why I was such a resilient guy? Well, maybe you would get it or maybe you wouldn't, but I can assure you that the words have pertinence. It is a valid thought that I'm having in regards to that. And I believe that I need to get better. But getting better, how is it not so simple? There is no responsibility in my life other than personal adherence. Adhering to my own health. How is getting better not all too simple then? If I am the one that ends up creating my own dysfunctionalities within the metric of my limited set of problems, then how is it reasons to do anything but be happy and persevere? I think that some people can be dramatic, while some deal with very significant struggles, others will simply say they do. And I am sad that I have been in the second half of the conundrum. The second part, that I would want to give up, because I have said it in I've even made it the theme of my video, it's partially the theme of my video. In a few takes that I recorded just for myself, I made it the theme of my video, and it makes me very sad. It makes me very sad, as I think that there's more of a merit to living and to striving to succeed and to conquering my fears and conquering my debilitating disorder than I ever could have imagined, and there ever was. And that is the point, is that I must grow stronger. I must grow more happy with myself, and I must find my success. So, in the present day, the hallucinations, they're majoritarily faded away. They do not resonate with my hearing. It hasn't been that way since the start of my psychic process, although I did hear some hallucinations in the form of telepathic discourse, which has happened to me maybe 4 to 5 times in the past few years. I've had telepathic discourse with some people that I presume I wasn't simply imagining, that lived beyond my life, that lived in heaven or something of the sort, I imagine would be it. I just don't remember it anymore. I remember the very first telepathic discourse I had, I recalled it as a conversation with Jesus Christ. I told my mother about it, and she said that she didn't understand, that they must have simply been delusions, and that maybe I needed to relax with myself. But it felt very true to me. It felt exuberantly true to me. And I did not particularly learn from these conversations in the sense of remembrance over the discourse itself. I did not remember statements in particular. Grand majority, I do not remember anything from those conversations. But I remember that at the time they were revealing conversations. They were telling on the basis of perhaps social fruition, the social metric of bonding or learning about one another. Perhaps the point is that there was a mission statement behind the conversations themselves, the psychic conversations. Perhaps there was a mission statement, a reason for it to have happened that went beyond the metric of my expectations. And one thing that really defeated me in the retrospective thought regarding those conversations is that maybe I was simply being utilized, and it is not only in terms of those, regarding my psychic trip as a whole, the last 5 years and a half, it has been a fear of mine. it's been a reason for me to be brought down, to be depressed, to be anxious. What I learned, slowly but surely, however, is that there is no point in anything but self-fulfillment in this sense. Personal fulfillment is everything, and letting other people's priorities that did not even affect you personally get in the way of your personal fulfillment, meaning it did not hurt you physically, it did not incapacitate you, it did not paralyze you. I mean, I know that those chats that I had, they were innocent in the end. They were revelatory, but they were innocent. And I did not feel hurt physically by the conversations. I simply saw them as miraculous. So it just was a transcendence, and therefore I have accepted it as such. Even though there might have been personal motives that went beyond a friendly chat, and I'm sure there were many, and maybe they won't benefit me, but at least I have still lived. That is what matters to me, because I can't get hung up on it. It's too destructive, too detrimental to my psyche. Nowadays, the voices are not, because I just am very careful with my words, of course. Nowadays, the hallucinations are not very they're not very conversationally driven. Rather, they are sporadic. They are seeking malice. I feel they are at least pretty disingenuous. They occasionally are sweet, but I can never shake that their motive is purely disingenuous. They do not actually seek to help me or even to be logical and inquisitive or simply be there in such a way where there is a purpose to their appearance other than malignance or annoying me. And I think that there is a lot of depth and purity to the metric of life itself. There is a lot of depth to sentience. I guess the point would be that maybe there is a bright side. Maybe on the other end of the rainbow, I will open the golden chest and I will receive the prize that is mine. We'll see. We will see. We'll always see, of course. I am often struggling, despite the fact that I should not struggle so severely, perhaps at all. And I told myself that I have to believe that my deranged tendencies have come from within. Regardless of whether there was action interference that went beyond hallucinations speaking to me, and regardless of whether those hallucinations simply annoyed me or actually detrimented me by inserting a manipulative element inside of me that would twist and turn me into a worse person. It's not healthy to point a finger at others. Sometimes you simply have to give blame to yourself, because otherwise it gets to be too easy to do it. You start thinking that you are doing no wrong and that everyone else is doing wrong. Well, maybe everyone does wrong in their lives. I agree, it is a complicated situation. I'm sure we've all thought that. But maybe complications are that exactly. There is a beauty in the way I am, Harvey. I'll stand by that any day. Despite the fact that I am often not in a peak state of mind, and despite the fact that it has felt more and more infantile to me to be this way, there is absolute beauty inside of me. Thank you, and I hope you're all well, and I wish you the best. See you.